Hey guys, it's Kanan,
It's Jesse.
and we are the Geeky Sane couple, and welcome to a brand new series. Unlike our other two, where it's either just me or just her, it's both of us. So we wanted to do something together, and since there's not really much going on because,
The world's at going nuts.
yeah, with the state of the world, we decided, you know what? Let's come up with a new series. So why are we doing this little show called Mysterious Darkness? Well, start it all off. I love creepy podcasts. You can ask her most of the time when I'm gaming or just, just sitting there browsing the web. I'm usually listening to a creepy story or two. And I know I've said in the past that Jess doesn't like scary stuff. It really only pertains to like jump scare like stuff.
Or straight up horror.
Yeah, like if it's a horror game or a horror movie, excuse me, um, that pertains to building up tension and all that. She gets nervous and all that. But when it comes to like just telling ghost stories or talking about messed up stuff, she's usually okay. I'm interested in it because I love the paranormal, which she does too. She finds it interesting. But also, I'm a psychology major, so I'm also into a lot of true crime stuff, serial killers, unsolved mysteries, and just all that kind of stuff. So I was like, let's do a podcast like show, which of course this is not a podcast. It's not doing like, it's not like that. It's pre recorded, of course, but, just kind of like a sit back for people who like this kind of stuff, who can listen to it while they're on their way to work. If you're currently working right now, or when everything gets back to normal, you're heading to work. While you're gaming, while you're reading, if you're still doing studies at home during all this, you can listen to it while you study. Um, there's some people that like listening to this kind of stuff as they go to bed. So I mean, if you're listening to this trying to go to sleep, and hey, that's good. Now we're gonna start this off with one episode a week. If it takes off and we get a lot of people that like this kind of stuff that want more, we may do two a week. Depends. We're gonna try and make them around an hour long. Of course, around Halloween time, we may do a 2 hour one if we can find something long enough to talk about. Um, and if you're confused why we're doing this kind of stuff when other kind of material we've done on the channel has not been like this, if you watched our original video, we always said that our channel was not always meant to be just a Ruby channel. I wanted to do Let's Plays. She wants to do her cosplay stuff. We would react to video game trailers whenever something comes out that we're both interested in. Maybe some movie trailers. But
and many things. I mean, we didn't limit
unboxings, story time. Sorry.
We just. It would be pretty much we left the channel being open to anything.
Pretty much a mixed bag.
Yeah, pretty much a variety of different things. That way it wasn't just set to one thing. I mean,
Yeah.
because sometimes just setting it to one thing, it's harder to build up.
Yeah. So yeah, I've always wanted to do something like this. We will always have at the beginning of each video a warning about, how this is for mature audiences only. If you're under the age of 18, you may not want to listen to some of the stuff we'll be talking about in this series. If you were easily affected by stuff, you may want to watch this with caution. But yeah, as the intro says, it's going to be talking about hauntings, true crime, which does include serial killers and stuff like that, unsolved mysteries, cults, disappearances, and just all kinds of stuff that either goes into the paranormal field or the true crime field. So we thought, with it being the first episode, we would talk about our personal experiences.
Couple of them, anyway.
Yeah, pretty much they take place. The bulk of my personal experiences will be in the house that I grew up in. Well, not really grew up in. Pretty much the house my parents' house, that my mom currently lives in. Pretty much when I was in high school and early college. and then we'll tell some stories of the house we currently live in, and stories the what we experienced at a house we almost moved into, and then the final part of it will be a local legend. Well, not really a legend. I don't know if that many people know about it around here. There's only a select few that I've heard this story from, but it's kind of well known, but not really. Like, I don't think it's not went out of the county. I don't think.
Very few people.
Yeah.
But I mean, everybody, when you mention this town, even if they've never heard of the story of this particular place, everybody says the same thing. That town is creepy at night.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. It's creepy as shit. Also, yes, there will be more colorful language in this show because hey, we're both adults. But okay, so I don't think we got anything else to talk about. Just same as always. If you enjoy the video, if you're into this kind of stuff, subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you'll always be notified when a new episode is up. Like I said, if this series takes off, we'll do maybe 2, maybe even 3 episodes a week. But right now it's only 1, and they're all guaranteed to be about an hour. So you might want to pause, go use the bathroom, get you a drink. Non-alcoholic or alcoholic, it's up to you. Just as long as you're 21 or older. And get you a snack. And yeah. Join us for a little bit of
mysterious darkness.
Yep. Okay, so the first story, you want me to go first with mine, or do you want to do when we moved into here?
We'll do yours first.
Okay, because mine's going to be kind of the long-winded one because it's a little bit longer. So, me and my parents moved into this house the summer between my sophomore and junior year of high school, I believe. The house was owned by my mom's dad, so it was kind of and he's passed away since then. So it's my mom's land, my mom's house. She practically owns it. And Jess has seen it. It's a nice little pretty farm. Right on the road, though. Not what you expect of a farm. It's right on, it's right on top of the road.
Luna enjoyed it.
Yeah. So, the first part of this story kind of starts before we had even moved. Dad had went to the house, and he noticed that a bit of the floor needed to be fixed. Though, there was pretty much a hole in the floor, in a way. So, he came to the house that we were living in, and got his tools, went back, and because the house was not very far from the place we had been living.
It's a small town.
It's pretty much real life Mayberry. Like, everybody knows everybody in that town. Well, I mean, technically we still live in that town, but just not
the outskirts.
Yeah, we live in the outskirts. So he said that he crawled under the house to where that part of the floor was to fix it from under. And of course he had a hammer, and once he was done with it, he placed it on top of the floor above him and did what he was doing. And then he reached back up, and the hammer was gone. He said he came back up from the floor. The hammer somehow had moved from where he was in the living room on the floor all the way over to the kitchen, and the hammer was sitting on the bar. Now, you have to understand what kind of man my dad was. He would always, whenever we would watch a ghost show or anything paranormal, he would sit there and go, "Oh, that's a bunch of horse shit," you know? Dad claimed he didn't believe, but then he would say other things every now and then, like what he said to my mom when he came home that day. He said, "Well, hope you're okay with moving into a haunted house." So, Mom asked him what happened, and he told her. Now, when I was younger, I've always liked paranormal stuff. But I can be a bit of a chicken shit sometimes. There was times where, I would watch something on TV, and the production of it was so good, the music was so creepy, the narration was so creepy that I had trouble sleeping that night sometimes. Don't you say a word. I know what you're thinking. And so they didn't tell me. Now, what I didn't know is there's been people who had died around that house a good few times. Apparently, back in the day, like long time ago, there was a man that was, oh God, when was it? Let's just say it was long ago when people were still riding horses around. Well, I mean, people still ride horses, but like as modes of transportation, like, you know.
No cars.
Yeah, no cars. And apparently on the land that the front yard was on, he was sitting there on his horse, and somebody shot him. I like, we don't know why, who, what, but he pretty much died in the front yard of the house. And the garden that Dad used for, you know, vegetables and all that used to be a graveyard. We found the tombstones. Yeah, we found the tombstones and everything. Like, they were so old you couldn't read them. So that was a good day at home, finding out that your garden was a graveyard. And Dad always joked, hell, that's why I get so many good vegetables. Because, you know, the joke that it makes good fertilizer. But Dad always did have a green thumb, but sometimes that stuff was way too good and too big. Like, he used to have, oh my gosh, like cantaloupes. Sometimes they'd be almost the size of a watermelon. Like, my dad had an amazing green thumb. We ate good all the time when he was alive. And the couple who had lived in the house before us, because my grandfather, you know, leased it to them or whatever, this couple lived there, and they were old. They were older people, and the man died. And for some odd reason, even though they were never going to own that land or anything, she had his ashes spread behind their barn. Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. Like, I had never heard such a weirder story in all my life. Like, personally, in a place that I had lived, like, why would you spread his ashes behind the barn of all places, but at a house you were never going to own? You know, because it was in my grandfather's name and all that, and he wasn't going to let it go. But anyway, we moved in that summer. And I remember the room that I moved into. I was so bummed because the room I had at our old house was way bigger. I had it was pretty much 2 rooms in one. Because we had knocked the wall out between my room and a guest room and pretty much turned the guest room into the second part of my room. I had my own in-wall air conditioner. I had a pad when I was in high school. Then we got moved into just a really single room, which was kind of like, to this day when I look at that room, it's like it's too small even today for all the stuff I had, because I had my bed, my futon, my video game systems, and all that. Like, I did not have the room. But shortly after we moved in, got settled in, had lived there for a little bit, I started getting these really eerie feelings of being watched. And, before I forget, my grandmother, on my mom's side, because I was always closer to my mom's side of the family than I've ever been my dad's side of the family. My grandmother died during my sophomore year, I believe it was. It was either, I think it was. Yes, it was, because we had not moved when she was still alive, and when she died, we were still in the previous house. So yes, my grandmother had died the spring before of emphysema, and I was always feeling watched. Like, I just got this chilling feeling that I wasn't alone. Like, on the weekends when I didn't have school, of course, I'd be up late playing a video game. And I would, walk through the house in the dark to the kitchen to get something to drink or something. And it just felt like the house was just dead. Like, it was quiet. And yeah, we live out in the country and all that, but I mean, even, as long as your electricity is on, you at least still hear electricity. Like, you hear the fridge and stuff like that still humming and all that.
You hear something.
Yeah, but this was like, you could, like, it was like olden times quiet almost. Like, if the power is off after a storm or something, it's just dead quiet.
Oh, and it sucks.
Yeah. Because I can't, yeah.
She sneezed.
One of our housemates sneezed. But, I couldn't shake it. So one day when me and my mom were on our way back from like the store or something like that, I asked her, I said, Mom, do you ever get the feeling of like you're not alone in that house, And as much as I was into ghosts and all that, I just did not make the connection that, hey, the house might be haunted. And she looked at me and she said, well, didn't want to tell you this. Me and your dad have known since day one that we moved in that house was haunted. And I'm like, well, shit, thanks for telling me. It's like, here I think I'm going crazy. Turns out our house is haunted. Then, of course, she told me about the hammer, the man dying in the front yard, the ashes. But Mom, to this day, said it was my grandmother. Because my mom has a touch of clairvoyancy, in a way. Like, she can take, if you gave her, like, your elder, like, well, yeah, like your grandmother or great grandmother's watch to her, she could hold it and she can tell you everything about that person without ever meeting them, stuff like that. And I've seen her do it, and it's wild. So since I knew it was since they told me since we kind of assumed it was my grandmother, I didn't worry about it too much at that time. My dad actually made the joke of giving the ghost a nickname. We started calling it Butch. Kind of like the ghost is a dog. Because I just remember, all of a sudden Dad going, well, if anything, Butch will take care of it. And I'm like, who the hell's Butch? And I finally asked him, he was like, that's, the ghost. It's like, you named the ghost Butch. Well, yeah, we gotta give it a name, don't we? So, even though there would be times Dad'd be like, oh, this house ain't haunted, that's a bunch of bullshit. That's exactly how he would say it. Then little things started to happen. Like, one day, Mom got up in the morning, and it was Dad didn't have to work, so he was still in bed. I was still in bed because I've never been an early riser. She went in the back utility room, and every one of the cabinets was open. Just like they were all just flung open. Other things, when Dad was alive, me and him, this is going to sound country as hell, but I mean, I've lived in the South my whole life, so, and I love auto racing. Me and him used to go to the dirt track around here, to watch, racing. And every time while we'd be gone, Mom would be in our living room watching TV, and she could not keep my bedroom door closed, because I always leaved it closed whenever I wasn't at home, whether I was at school or out with someone else or with Dad, or if I was just outside. I kept my door room closed because teenager and all that, keep the door closed. I don't want anyone to come in. But she said while I was gone, she would walk by, it'd be closed, then she'd walk by a couple of minutes later, it'd be wide open. Also, the way she used to have where her computer would set, she would have her computer set to where she was facing the wall, and this way was the hallway where the bathroom in my room was. And she said something black kept going back and forth. It had no color, it was just a black mass going in between the bathroom and my room. I guess the ghost really needed to use the bathroom.
A lot.
Yeah. um, then one of the more funny things that happened was mom and dad were laying in bed, sleep, and mom woke up for some reason, and she felt what felt like somebody sitting on toward the bottom of their bed. So she goes, Michael, Michael. He goes, what? There's someone sitting at the foot of our bed. And my dad sits up and goes, where? I don't see nobody. And she's like, hell, go back to sleep. So, see, like other people, that would have freaked the hell out of. Waking up and feeling like an impression that someone said. Mom didn't think much about it. Another thing that happened with my parents was when Dad was alive. Like, it seemed like my dad was a light sleeper because it seemed like almost anything would wake him up, no matter how quiet you were. And he used to always blame me for making too much noise and waking him up. Well, one night I was staying at my sister's house, just spend the night, and Dad got woken up by all this racket, like someone's walking around, like he almost said it sounded like they were just slamming their feet on the floor. He thought it was me, but for some reason he didn't bother to get up and try and fuss at me. He just tried to go back to sleep. Next day, my parents get up and he's like, when he gets up, I'm going to kick his ass. He will get me up all night beating around and walking around. And Mom goes, honey, he's at his sister's. He's not even here. So he didn't really know what to think. Another thing that happened was I once again was at my sister's. And he got once again woken up by someone messing with the door. And he thought I had decided to come home and was trying to get back into the house. Nobody there. Nothing. Now, two of the most spookiest things that happened to me was one night, my two youngest nieces were spending the night. And they were both sleeping on my futon. Of course, I was in bed. And all of our dogs, I think we had two at the time. We had Max, who was a Cocker Spaniel, and of course we had Snickers, who we still have. Max was in bed with me. Snickers was on the futon with them. Because this is back when Snickers didn't like me. And I went to bed a little bit later than them, and I'm laying there, and my ears are ringing really, really bad. Now, Mom, knowing a bit about clairvoyancy, she says when your ears are ringing just out of the normal like that, because usually when your ears ring, it's like change of altitude and stuff like that. My ears usually don't ring when I'm just laying in bed and and all that. But they were like annoyingly ringing. And I'm like, what the heck? Why is my ears ringing? And all of a sudden, my door flies open. And I sit up, I look. If I had been in the room all by myself, I would have completely flipped out. But at first, I'm trying to be skeptical here. It's Dad. He's pulling crap on me because he was the type to always do that. I got up. There's nobody up in the house. I go toward his and Mom's room. I can hear him snoring. He's like out. I go back to the room, and like I said, both the dogs were in the room, so it wasn't one of them. Plus, when a dog opens a door, you hear them scratching at it. So I closed the door. I got back in bed. My ears are still constantly ringing. And I'll never forget, I said, Mama, you kind of freaked me out a little bit there. Tone it back. My ears automatically stopped ringing. Take that for what you will. Another one was it was the weekend, so I was sleeping in from because after that long week of school, the best feeling ever is sleeping in on Saturday.
Still is.
Well, if you work and just so happen to have the weekends off. I got up to use the bathroom, and like I said, the bathroom was right across the way, the hall from my room. So I did my business and was washing my hands. I had opened the bathroom door by now, and I was washing my hands. I look over toward my room, which the door is open in my room, just in time to see the edge of a white dress walk into my room. It was so clear I could see like this flower, like it was weird. Like it wasn't a flower pattern, but like it had actual flowers sewed onto the dress almost. Like, well, it wasn't.
Lace.
Yeah, like lace flowers in a way.
Like tatting.
Yeah,
yeah.
I remember exactly seeing it like floating into my room. Well, like a woman who's in a dress and she goes around the corner, you see how the dress does it.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. Like someone in a dress had walked into my room and I just caught them as they went in. But the thing is, I was so exhausted. Like I was still so exhausted and so tired. I just looked at it, finished washing my hands, went back to sleep. Like, what could I do? If it gets me, it gets me. I'm too tired, It's like one of those. It's one of those deals. Like if you ever go to bed and you're like freaked out for some reason, just because you heard like a noise or you woke up from a nightmare, it gets to the point where you get so tired, you're just like, I don't care if there is a damn demon in here. If it gets me, it gets me. I'm going to sleep.
I can say once moving down here, I have seen the same dress, but more than once. It's just.
You did?
Okay, yeah.
I remember you telling me that.
Mm-hmm.
Must have followed us here and then.
Well, not here. I meant when I first moved.
Oh, okay.
Down.
Okay. Also, besides that, not much else. Like, hauntings are not as active as, like, these dramatizations and movies want you to think. It's kind of more. You'll be lucky sometimes to see something once a month, maybe. But yeah, besides those events, like, I got into old ghost hunter mode and took pictures in my room and all that, and there was this big glowing orb right in the middle of my room. I wish I still had the picture. We'd put it up if I had it, but I don't think I have it anymore. I'm trying to think of any.
MySpace.
It probably still is on MySpace. That's where I first put it. Oh, another thing that happened was when my grandfather on my mom's side passed away. Me and my youngest nephew. Now, if you've watched my Stardew Valley videos, this is not one of the nephews from those stories. This is my youngest one, my brother's youngest. Him and me were here at the house when my grandfather passed away in the hospital. Me and my grandfather on my mom's side were not very close. I'll just say he wasn't very good to my grandmother. Let's just say that. And I kind of just didn't. I never got to know him for that reason, because some of the stories I heard when they were still married. Plus, I don't like hospitals. I hate being in them. I hate being in them. So we're just hanging out here, and this is when I'm a little bit older. I think I was maybe have started college by now, but I was going to a community college, so I was still living at home. And it was really weird that night. Like, him and me wanted to get out of the house. We, what do kids do when they're really bored late at night? They go to Walmart just for the heck of it. If you say you have never went to Walmart just because you're bored, you're a damn liar. And as we were pulling out and getting on the road, he claims he looked up at the house and saw someone standing in the doorway. But he at that time when he was younger, he had a very overactive imagination, so I didn't believe him. We went to Walmart, messed around there for who knows how long. then my mom got a hold of me and told me the storm was coming. I think it stormed that night. I could have sworn she told me a storm was coming, or that a storm just ended up coming. And so we went home. We got something to eat while we were at Walmart just to make at the house, like a pizza or something like that. Came home. I put the pizza in the oven, set the time. He was sitting in the living room, and I went to my room. And we had, there was 2 doors in my parents' house. There's one that pretty much everybody used to, leave and come in when they visited.
The technical front door.
Yeah, it's technically a side door. The front door, all was at the front door was a deck, a wall where the mailbox is, and the road. That's no one came through that front door. It was mostly just really a decorative door in a way. That's really what all it was there for. It was just to be there. But it had a screen door, so we had the door open but the screen door closed because this was the summer, I believe. So usually during the summer we always kept the door open and the screen door closed. And I'm in my room, I think, playing a game, and all of a sudden he screams my name, and I run in there, and he's got this freaked out look, and he claims the door just shut by itself. Of course, I didn't believe him because he could have easily
reached over.
Yeah, where he was sitting in a recliner, he could have just reached over and closed it.
I still, whenever we visit, I still sit in there. Yeah. So
it's actually kind of a creepy chair to sit in at night because the screen door is right there, and you look over and anything could be looking in on you.
There was nights that I would get a little freaked out. Watching ID probably didn't help me either.
So I was like, yeah, right, and all that. And we got the pizza out, we ate it. And he just kept on talking about how creeped out he was and all that. Well, we got word that my grandfather had passed away. And he was like, well, let's ghost hunt. It's starting to storm. I was like, okay. I really wasn't in the mood to. But it turned out all the lights in the house. I had my mom's cheap digital camera, and I was just taking pictures around the whole place and all that. Every single picture has a black haze in every single shot. I don't know. I would say it was something wrong with the camera, but I mean, we used that camera a lot, and we even used it later that night to test it, and it was fine. So, yeah, there was a black shadow overhanging in every photo.
I think I remember you showing me those.
Yeah, it was kind of wild. Other than that, I don't think much else happened. Because like I said, hauntings are not as... Unless it's a really, really bad haunting, or if it's a poltergeist, which is based on the person that it's based around, hauntings usually are as active as many would make you believe. It's once in a blue moon.
Unless it's the house down the road that was the Civil War.
Oh yeah, there's a house right down the road that used to be a Civil War hospital. The slave houses are still
there.
And
there's horses that live there just fine, but then again, you got to think back then they had horses, so they probably don't care. Now,
I've not known anyone that's lived in that house longer than a year.
When we drive past Stellium today, there's people, they've actually, I think, been redoing the house, putting it back to the way it originally was.
Which is a good way to stir up a haunting even
more.
Well,
from the way it looks like they're actually restoring the original house. Because even the front porch, they put the molding back that was missing. They're kind of the correct way. You do it. You put the original things back with new paint on it. But but that's about it. Yeah. There's people still staying there, but some of them stay in RVs and stuff, but I think they're using it as more of a historical house.
Yeah, I think people have given up living there.
Yeah, they go inside, they do stuff inside, electricity works, I've seen it. There's this giant dog that runs around over there too. But...
And it's like in town, there's this building that used to be a funeral parlor, and no one stays in it very long.
I don't care how cheap the rent is, I wouldn't either.
So that's about all that happened at my parents' house. But you
there
said
was some things when I moved.
When you first moved, when she first moved, it was shortly after my dad passed away.
Unfortunately, I didn't actually get to meet him. which I was really sad about.
Because when you first moved, we lived with Mom for a little bit, just because I didn't want to leave her alone.
But I always, yeah, he joked because his dad would probably make jokes on me because I'm a Yankee. I'm from Ohio, so but I had always just been curious that, would he really like me? Well, I mean, I've been told, yeah, he would, just crack jokes on you. Well, I still wondered in the back of my mind, and one day I ended up getting pretty sick. Like, I pretty much laid out of bed. I went and just laid in the recliner all day.
Which was his
and
recliner.
I didn't know that, actually, until he had actually said something. It just didn't click. I laying there most of the day, his mom would come and check on me after sitting on the back porch for a while, and I just felt this, like, a calming presence. Like, I felt somebody was there. Like, it just, like, I don't know how to explain it, but I felt, like, accepted. Like, love, acceptance. And I was, I actually teared up at the time, and I told him, I said, I think your dad accepted me. Because of and then he tells me, he goes, no, that was his chair. Which made a lot of sense, and that actually meant a lot to think about that, because I'd always wondered if he'd really like me. Cause I was sad that I never got to meet him. I wish I could. I mean, he would have loved that I work on cars. I mean, I could just imagine. Yeah. It would have been great. I would have had a lot of bonding time with your dad.
That just reminded me, speaking of Dad, at his funeral, when we first got there, like, we walked into the church, and I sat in the very back row at first, because
it's hard.
I was losing it. Like, I cried I think 99% of that day I cried. I cried to the point where I couldn't cry anymore. So I'm just sitting back there crying, and all that, and my brother-in-law is trying to cheer me up and all that. He goes, just think about that beer you're going to have later and all that. Just trying to give, trying to give me high spirits and all that. That's how my brother-in-law is. And, I'm sitting there, just, it's the worst day of my life. And I don't know what it is, but I just, all of a sudden, this, calming feeling came over me. And it just felt like someone was sitting next to me. And I don't want to sound cliche and all that, but there was a little bit of a cool sensation that came over me. And I still, like even then, I had to look up and look to my side, which of course there was nobody there. But I could have sworn it felt like that maybe he was trying to comfort me in a way.
He probably did.
But yeah, once Dad passed, she moved
after graduation.
Yeah,
it was a little after graduation.
Yeah, which, like I said, we stayed with Mom for a little bit because I didn't want to leave my mom by herself, even though she said, "I'm fine, go on,"
We stayed a little longer than we wanted to, but that's because the original house that we were going to move into.
Well, we'll get to that. But didn't you have some experiences while we stayed with Mom?
Yeah, the dress a couple times, and even when I'm over there.
See, I didn't even know that. That's the first time I think you've told me.
I've seen the dress. I mean, the lilac bush that I always smell, even if there is not one from the house. That's something that just follows me. It was a scent associated with my grandmother. So which is called a phantom smell for people who don't know. Yeah, and I'll just be in the car, there's nothing there, and I'll smell it, and you acknowledge, and it goes away. But no one, well, I mean, he knows, but most others don't know that I was very close to my grandparents growing up, so I know they follow me. So it's a comforting thing. I think Luna has seen them. She's seen a lot of things, I'm sure. She has found hiding places, so I don't know what she has saw when she used to be outside all the time. Well, Snickers, he used to sit on the back of the couch at my mom's house, and just randomly, he would just be looking at something, and he would just go, woof, like that, like nothing. Well, they say that kids and dogs, and any animal, they see more than we do. Luna's played with things that
seen-
you've never seen before. I mean,
You've seen the shadow as well, right?
yeah. There is times, even here, no matter where you go, like, you'll just have that night that it just, everything seems more creepy.
Yeah. There are several nights where
I won't want to walk through the house by myself, or I'll take a flashlight.
yeah,
Because
like
it's so dark.
and like it was at my mom's house and here. Like it's just like there are certain nights where it just feels like it feels different. Like it feels darker. Like it's darker outside and like it's quieter. Just to the point, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. It's not a very comfortable feeling to the point where you don't feel safe until you get back into the light. It's almost like a Darkness Falls like feeling if you've ever seen that movie.
There is one other thing that we seen, and it was actually, we had come back, we were out of town, we went to, I think, Knoxville or something. We came back, and where we were going, I don't remember. You looked up at the barn. I saw it too, and this just black figure just walks by.
Mm-hmm.
We both kind of looked at each other. And,
Nope.
mm-mm.
Nope. I ain't gonna go see what it is.
No, but...
I ain't gonna be no Shaggy and Scooby at this point.
No, but after a little bit thinking about it, he goes, you know what? It's probably Dad.
Probably was, but...
Because it was in the barn.
Yeah. And every now and then I'll go out in the garage, because the garage was where he hung out the most. That's where he, you know...
I've felt things in the garage.
Yeah, that's where he,
We still go and use that garage because of all the tools, so...
Yeah, that's where he worked on his little projects and all that. And he had a TV out there that he had direct TV out there in the garage. Like that was his
His
little
pad.
yeah, and he even had a man cave sign. And Dad knew a bit of carpentry, so like he made himself and you've seen it, like a throne almost, like that.
I actually
that seat
still
that's still out there.
use a bench that he had constructed that I use as one of my workbenches.
Yeah, he never got to use it.
I'm sure he's glad it's getting used
Yeah.
now.
Um,
That table that doesn't
mm-hmm.
sit right.
Yeah. But there was that, and little off topic, but I do want to talk about this because it is something that we experienced together. At the place I worked at, I worked at another store before I work at the current one I work at, which of course is closed right now. She had met me at work because I think it was an early release for something or something like that.
It may have been.
But anyway,
It's probably Resident Evil?
no,
you were off for that night.
no, I don't know.
I don't remember.
You might have just came because you were on your way back from somewhere and just decided to stop. Anyway, I think she'll agree with me. The road that I used to have to take to get to that particular store at night is a pretty creepy road. Like it's
There's
out in the,
one area, really in particular.
yeah, like it's out in
The
the.
bad part of the road is what I used to call it.
It's fixed now. It's been
Yes,
paved.
It's been paved.
But like, oh, I just remembered something I saw one night on that road. Okay, this is going to go. Okay, so this is going from stuff that we've experienced at my parents' house and all that to just anything now, because I'm gonna tell you guys this was creepy, but we'll get to that in a minute. She was driving in front of me, and I was following her, and this is before it was. Well, no. She did a bad thing. She texted me while driving. And I looked down at my phone and it says, "I think I killed a bunny."
Okay.
I know there's a lot of people that's going to be like heartbroken and like real, like, I guess I just pictured the way she would have said it, and I thought it was the funniest damn thing I ever read. It's like, "I think I killed a bunny," but I didn't see no rabbit come from underneath your car or anything. I didn't see a rabbit.
There was
at all.
nothing on my car. There was nothing on the side of the road. There was nothing when we came back the next day.
Yeah, so
And it was early the next day, and there was still nothing. So I swear I thought I heard it. I thought I heard it hit the car, but it wasn't there. It wasn't anywhere.
But anyway, I call her because this is before they made it illegal to talk on the phone while you drive.
Though I've got a Bluetooth in my car, so.
I called her and I was laughing. I was like, "What?" And then all of a sudden, I look up in the sky and there's this green green light going through the air, and she goes, "Do you see that? What the hell is that?" And it just faded out of nowhere. And I was like, what? Now, of course, it was around July, but it was after the 4th of July. It was no firework. It had no fire trail.
We later, at the end, we found out what it was. But...
So we were going from, like, Mom made the joke that it was an angel farting because it was green. I thought UFO maybe, or something, but it turns out that it was
technically, they call it space junk. Yeah. It's pretty much just stuff burning up in the atmosphere before it even reaches anything, and it happens a lot. It's actually
first time I'd experienced it.
I've never seen it either.
I didn't expect it to be green,
but the sky was so clear that night, so that would made it more easily
and
seen.
It looked really close. Like it looked like it was
like
right
green
over
and
our
yellow,
cars.
so you could tell it was something burning, but it was said space junk, and
I thought they said like a green fireball or something. Like
it was there was a couple different terms.
And technically,
NASA is the one that actually posted.
Yeah, and technically, it apparently does count as a UFO in a way. I think
because it's still an unidentified flying object.
Yeah,
it's just junk coming from space, burning up on reentry.
Yeah. So that was kind of funny. But like for it to
I
happen,
like a lot of NASA stuff. Okay.
Were you with me when we were driving on that road and we saw the person standing on the side of the road?
No, that was just you, because you told me about it when you came home.
Yeah. This was terrifying. I was driving home late at night. Well, late at night. It's after 9 o'clock, maybe going on 10 o'clock. And I come up on... I'm driving, and I'm about to pass this house. There is somebody standing outside this house on the side of the road in nothing but black. Black jeans, black hoodie, hood up.
Was this on that road?
Yes, this was...
I wasn't with you, but I remember it, and then I remember the next day, so...
And good you do, because I don't remember the next day. But he was, like, just staring at this house. And I'm like, what the fuck,
I was in the car with you. I didn't see it, though.
Yeah, I did. I was like, what the heck is this guy doing? He's wearing all black. He's got his hood up, and he's just standing still. He didn't look at the car. He didn't move. He was just looking at the house. And I was like, what is...
Well, we drove that way again the next day, and it was during the daylight. And there was... I remember, I don't know what you may have been on your phone, but I looked up, and there's this guy standing in the same spot. He said somebody was standing. Still in all black, but the hood was like... It was back, so you could see skin.
So I don't know if it was just some dude out having a smoke or something.
I think it's because,
if he was on something.
The person that, they live in this... The way they have their house is very odd, creepy. The person that walks along right there, and they walk right back. They live in this house that was right where that was at, and I don't know why they would get out in all black in the dark and go stare at their own house.
Unless he's on something, or he was having a smoke and I just didn't see it.
He may have been on something, for all we know.
But that was creepy. And then, on our road that we live on, I was coming home, went around a curve, and there's a woman with long black hair standing on the side of the road. Just out of nowhere.
I wasn't with you for that one.
And I'm like, first thing I thought of was Ring, and or The Grudge, and who knows what she was doing? It looked like her hair was wet, too. Like, what are you doing standing outside on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere? Like, what are you doing? I just kept going.
Wasn't that near where that farm is now?
Yeah, it's right there at that curve.
Before they redid any of that.
It's right there at that curve.
The field.
Yeah.
Yeah, right before that. So there was nothing there. Now it's a farm where a lot of weddings and parties and stuff happen, but...
Well, she might haunt that place. They might have stirred her up while they were working on the place, but... That was creepy, because it just came out of nowhere. Like, it was almost like if a deer had run out in front of me. She was just there. Didn't see her talking on a phone or anything. She was just standing there. And it creeped me out. Like, I've never gotten that freaked out while driving.
The only time I've gotten that freaked out here is that house.
Okay. Yeah, so that's gonna be the next part of the story. Is When Jess first moved, once we were finally ready to move out, we were going to move into a house in town that my sister owned at the time. And before we moved, there was no room at my mom's house for both her stuff and my stuff. So we took a lot of her stuff that she did not need on a day-to-day basis, put it in that house, and just kept it there. We had the key to the place, so we just kept it locked up. Well, big problem is that house has always creeped me out, even when my sister and her kids lived in it. It is confirmed that a woman did pass away in it. I think of a heart attack it was.
I think so. It's across the street from a cemetery.
Yes, the town graveyard is right across the road. And
which, oddly enough, didn't bother me.
Oh, it did me, but
it didn't
wanted
bother
to
me
move
as
into
much.
the place, so I was going to be quiet. My oldest nephew kept always messed with me, when we were getting ready for, to go to bed and all that. He was like, don't look in the mirror, you might have company, and stuff like that. But that house was always creepy. It always was. But I never thought much of it because I never personally experienced anything there myself. Well, for some odd reason, every time we went to that house to look for something that she needed for cosplays or something like that, it seems like almost every single time we went at night. And to make things worse, my sister had not paid the electric bill.
So after a while, we didn't have any light anymore.
Yeah, which we didn't live at the place yet. She was waiting to do it until after we moved in. But yeah, we would have to go to that place at night with no power. And you experienced most of it, so I'll let you go from there.
Well, yeah. When we had gone during the day, it was still kind of felt odd anyways.
I'll never forget that time I left you and went walking through the graveyard and you yelled, Where are you at? Remember that?
Yeah. But it got to the point, I had tried to go there. There was sometimes I'd try to go there to sort through things so that we could get a better handle on the stuff that I had. But I never once it started getting slightly darker, I didn't like going to the back of the house.
It was a creepy house.
The back of the house is where the bathroom was, the back door, and just this back room, which in that back room we didn't have any of our stuff. It was all your nephew's stuff that was still there at the time.
Because him and his fiance at the time had lived in the house before us.
Well, we got to the point where we couldn't move into this house because there was some repairs and stuff that we were not able to make. But after all the experience, I wasn't moving into this house anyway. It just started at night. There's one time where we really needed something, and I had to go, and it was by myself.
I think I was at work.
Yeah, but we needed it. We really needed it. So I went to the house. I was alright at first, but then that back hallway, it would freak me out. So I'd rush, find what I needed, and get the hell out. Well, when we did start moving things, I also started noticing when I was there a little girl. We don't know where the little girl came from, but we're thinking the cemetery. But she was, I've seen little glimpses of her. She was a cute little thing, a white little sundress. But I was moving stuff and condensing everything, and we had to move everything out of the house because she was getting rid of it. And the first thing, now this wasn't, to me it wasn't creepy, but I had loose feathers come out of who knows what box. This little girl was just floating around. She was playing with it. And she'd done it a couple different times, but there's several times where I'd feel this tiny little hand on my back pushing me towards the door once it started getting darker. Okay, well, the first few times I was just like, alright, well, I guess she's telling me it's time to go, Well, there's one time in particular that I decided to look back. Find out why. Why was I being pushed out of this house? He was not there yet. He was, I think, taking a load.
Yeah, because we were moving
in the truck.
stuff.
We were
yeah.
moving stuff out, and I walked out of the house, was gonna go back in and move something else out, and I looked down that hallway, and something big and black was looming and walking back and forth in that hall. I was like, nope, I'm done. I walked straight out of the house and stood on the side of the road. I called him. I said, I'm not going back in. I am not going back in that house. Like, it terrified me because of the presence that it made me feel. I felt straight terror. Like,
And the best thing is, we still had stuff in there we had to move out.
oh yeah, but the fact that I felt that little hand and it kept going more insistently at that point in time to push me out. Well, whatever it was is whatever that was in that back hallway. She every time now it made sense why she'd push me once it started getting dark. She wanted me to get out. She knew what was there. And it's only at night. I only felt that, like, presence at night.
I remember one time we were there one night, and I think I looked up. I think I saw a quick glimpse of the little girl. I never saw the black thing. Like, even that night, I came back and to get more. And you told me what you saw, and I mean, we went inside, and there was nothing there. And I think I made the joke is, yeah, it's not scared now. I'm here. It's scared. Oh,
you did
it's
say you
scared
felt
now.
the unease in the air.
Yeah,
but
it
that was
was
about it. It was really hard to breathe.
Yeah, it was not a really good. Like, I even hated going there at night. I almost said, let's just wait until tomorrow when it's daylight, because if you had gotten scared bad enough, at least there was a Sonic right down the road you could have ran to.
Yeah, well, we decided to wait. The next day, we got everything else out.
Yeah, because I wasn't chancing it, because
we wanted it out. And the thing is I got to the point that next day when he was making loads, I opened all the curtains that were still in that house. I let light in from every angle that I could find. When it was daylight, I pulled everything out, because we had a few boxes in the bathroom. I pulled everything forward. In the room that was it was a bedroom, but the dining room, I guess you'd call it. Mm-hmm. I pulled everything out of there. It was all in one room. I was over this.
Yeah, like, I've experienced things and all that, but never to the point where it just felt so oppressive in a way. Like, it was just...
And the thing is we don't think, like, I don't know mean thing was.
Yeah,
like,
because I don't think my sister or any of them experienced anything like that while they were living at the house.
If they did, they didn't notice. But,
yeah.
I mean, I see a lot more than
But then again,
do.
I think my nieces have told me that they saw stuff when they lived there.
But I see a lot more than most do, which is probably why I've seen things that you haven't. But it was also a sign. It was a sign. No.
Yeah, that place was...
Don't move here.
That place was just... It was It was creepy. Like... And the thing was, it was right in the middle of town. Like, like I said, there was a Sonic. Like, how far is that Sonic from that house? Like, it's right across the road.
Yeah, it's
like, you walk out, you walk down a little bit past a doctor's office, Sonic's right there across the road. Like, it's not like this house was out in the middle of nowhere. But even being right there in the middle of of town, like, you go into that house, you felt like you were in the middle of nowhere almost.
Yeah.
Like, it was just unsettling.
And they've done renovations to that house, so I can only imagine.
Yeah, someone bought it from my sister, and they've been working on it. Like, the house...
It's a completely different house now.
Yeah, it does not look the same at all anymore, and, I don't... Like I said, I don't know. Like, it just seemed... You see all these jokes about haunted houses, new people move in, the dark voice goes, "Get out!" That's
kind of how that felt.
Yeah, like, it was... not a really good feeling. Like, that's the first time that's the first time I've walked into a house and been just like, we need to get out of here, it's not safe here. Like, I felt like threatened in a way.
Yeah.
And I still, like, you've got bigger balls than me, hun. There ain't no way I would have went that house at night by myself.
And I had, even after that first experience, I had done it a couple other times because it was on my way home from work, and I needed to get it over with.
Well, most of those times I think it was stuff you just could run in, grab, and get out.
Yeah, it was all, I knew it was in the front room. Now, if it was something I had to...
actually search for?
Nope.
Yeah, so that's the first time I've ever had, we've both ever had experiences where it just felt something bad's going to happen, if we don't get out of it. Like, that's what it, it was. That's all I can say. It was terrifying. I had to take a breath every time, and I think she noticed every time we were in there looking for stuff, I was, very impatient. Are you done yet? Well, we need to get out of here.
Yeah, and then it didn't help and made it worse because he'd turn the light away, he'd look around, no, light here. I need to see to get out.
I kept feeling like something was behind me,
and it just made it more difficult. See, when the thing is
I didn't like being there in the daylight either. Though.
It did help if we had to go at night when the power was still on.
Yeah, that was fine.
Because there was light, there was electricity.
I know it sounds cliche.
Gone,
yeah, I know it sounds cliche, but it's like the moment light came into the house, nothing, it didn't feel that bad. But if it was pitch,
once the electricity was gone,
and it was
but
quiet.
they say electricity has a lot to do with things too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just, yeah, nope.
Okay, so this last story is not something that we experienced. This is actually pretty well, like I said, not well known as in the world. We might be the first people to actually talk about this to anyone outside of this area, maybe. So there is a little town close to where we live called Baneberry. Yes, sounds very country and redneckish, don't it?
My phone likes to tell me that that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Let's say the biggest thing that's in Baneberry is the golf course. And heck, I don't even know if it's still there, but there used to be a golf course there. It's a great area to hunt and fish and all that, but we've both, me more so than her, because I've lived here around this area my whole life, but it is a creepy place to be at night, because it's out in the middle of nowhere. Barely any houses, barely any street lights in some areas. It's just... If you'd want to go anywhere around here and get a feeling of what it was like back in the old days, besides going up in the mountains or something,
I've not even fully been into Baneberry, so
no, you don't want to be. Daytime, all right. Nighttime, no. So my mom told me this story. Now, you've got to understand my mom. My mom is no BS. She's just a no BS person. If she thinks something's full of shit, she's going to tell you it's full of shit. Correct?
Yeah.
She's heard some of these famous ghost stories say, oh, that's a bunch of bullshit, or she watched The Conjuring and laughed her ass off. She thought it was the most funniest thing she'd ever seen when that little girl was being pulled by her hair and all that. She thought it was hilarious. This was a long time ago. I don't think I was born yet. I don't think my mom had even met Dad yet at this point. But she knew this woman. Not going to name her name. And I'm not going to give the address of this place either, because, technically I don't even know the address myself. We're not going to post any pictures of it, because this is a private residence and all that. Not
that anyone lives there, but yeah.
Yeah, no one lives there, but
it's owned by somebody.
Yeah, it's owned by somebody. So, she knew this woman. And this woman was a very... I hate to use such a stereotypical name, but she was a Bible banger. Lives in the South, of course. She's very religious. Didn't drink, didn't do drugs. She didn't even smoke or anything like that. And she had told... I forgot how... Do you remember how Mom said she knew this woman? Was it through church?
That or work? Or
it was church or work. And... she had told Mom that she had bought this real nice house out on the lake, and she invited her over. And so Mom did. And at that time, this house was pretty much out on its own. It was up on the lake. It has a great view of the lake. Now, today, it's like the whole area around it's become like a cul-de-sac, and that house sits right in the middle of it. It's like there's the ring for the cul-de-sac, and the house is right there in the middle of it. But if you could if you saw it and you could picture it in your head, you could see where, this would have been a beautiful location to have a house. Well, Mom went over, she went in, Mom said it was a beautiful house, nice big 2-story house, had this beautiful mural in there, and, she was showing my mom around, and there was this one room that was locked. And Mom asked her about it, and she had told Mom that the previous owners, their son, who I believe was in the army or something, that was his room, and all of his stuff was in there, and that he was in Germany, and that he was going to come back. He was going to be back very soon, and once he did, he was going to come over to get his stuff, and she could use that room forever she wanted. So, she showed Mom around the house. Mom eventually left and all that. Well, at some point, the son came, got into that room, got his stuff, and left. That's when things went downhill. Now, I do not know the full... I don't think anyone I know knows that full entire story. What exactly triggered this to happen. But ever since he came and got his stuff, that's when the haunting actually started. Was there something kept in that room? No one really knows.
Did he bring something with him?
Yeah, did he bring something with him? I mean, was it a poltergeist? Because...
Whatever it was, it's the house.
Yeah.
And you'll understand what I mean by that.
Thing is, though, I don't think a poltergeist can be influenced by a house. It's usually by a person. Because it's all...
I think something got disturbed.
Because poltergeist is all a mental thing.
I think it's the land. So I think something got disturbed when he moved all of his stuff. Something changed.
Well, this woman told Mom about strange things happening. Of course, at first Mom was like, oh, it's crazy, Then she told her, she said, well, why don't you just, move out of the house? And I forgot exactly what Mom said that she said, but it was pretty much along the lines of, if I put my back to the devil, God will protect me or something like that. At the end of the day, guys, this woman, who was a very religious woman, didn't have any vices or anything like that. She eventually became an alcoholic, and she got put into an insane asylum. All from that house. She barely left the house, and Mom said she just done a 180 as far as personality. She just became a whole different person. Well, some time goes by, and my mom's brother was talking to her, and he was talking about work. I forgot exactly what she said he was doing, but it was for a company, and they had a specialist come in because I think something broke. Is that what she said? That something...
I think so.
And it was, it was one of those things where they had to get someone to come in that, worked on specific things like that to come in and fix it. Or I might be completely wrong, and he was just someone who worked for him. Well, anyway, Mom, they were just talking, Mom asked him if he met him and all. He was like, oh, yeah, he's a cool dude. The company's paying for him to stay here and all that. And he moved into this nice house out on the lake, and he said something else that kind of sparked something in Mom's mind. She was like, on the lake in Baneberry. He said, yeah. And he was like, does it have this? Does it have that? Does it look like this? And he was like, yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. And she was like, that house is haunted. And of course he was like, oh, bullshit, stuff like that. Well, the guy never showed up for work. Weeks went by. Eventually they fired him, got somebody else. My uncle, but between that time, between the guy getting fired and all that, my uncle went to the house. He had already tried to call the guy beforehand. The guy would not answer. My uncle came to the house, saw his car, and he was like, hell, he's home, knocked on the door, no answer. He walked around the house, and, he stood by the lake, just looking to see if the guy was out on the lake or doing something, He turned back, looked at the house. One of the curtains was moved, and then it was like someone was looking out, and then it moved back, like someone moved away. And he was like, that asshole is home, And so he was knocked on it more, and nobody came to the door. So, well, time went, a few days went by. The guy finally showed up. Except he was pale. He had bloodshot eyes, and his whole entire beard had been grown out. And he was like, where have you been? I've called, I went to your house and all that. And he was like, that house would not let me leave. And he was like, what are you talking about? He's like, he told him I would wake up, the doors would be locked, the tape for my answering machine, because this was back when we used answering machines. He said the tape for my answering machine was all pulled out. He was like, there's nothing I could do but just lay there, like, because it would not let me out. Well, that guy also ended up in a insane asylum. And I don't know why this story really stood out to me. I mean, of course, like I said, my mom's not a bullshitter. She doesn't lie about stuff. She doesn't make up stuff like this. So these people obviously did exist. This all obviously did happen. I think I've even asked my uncle about it, and he said, yes, that did happen. My brother, for several years, said that he would not hunt around that area because it creeped him out too much. And of course, when I was first told all this, I was in high school, and we actually went looking for it and found it. And that's how we found out that it's now in a cul-de-sac, and people's cars were there, but there was no sign of life inside that house whatsoever. Like, it just looked haunted. You see those pictures that people post on Google Images of stereotypical haunted houses. It looks like it. Now,
it did come up again recently.
Yes, I was getting to that. But I mean, after that, it just became kind of a local ghost story, about how
a house that keeps people in.
Yeah, that
makes
keeps
you go crazy.
Yeah, that keeps people in, and they just all of a sudden. Now, I don't know if anyone else who's lived in that house since has ended up in insane asylums, but especially since those places aren't around anymore, it's just mental health places now. But here recently, how this, and like I said, I told her this story. I've told other friends of ours this story. It's not a very long story, but it's unsettling to say the least. Especially when we know that it's in a town that's like right over the hill, pretty much, from where we live. And the reason why it came up here recently is because I don't know if any of you watched Ghost Hunters back on Sci-Fi, back in the early to mid 2000s and all that. I think it lasted till about the late 2000s. Taps and all that. They have a new show. Ghost Nation, was it called? Yeah. And their first episode
was here
in the town that we live in.
We were actually in the bookstore and we saw that and walked by. It was kind of cool.
With the film crew and everything. It was really cool. And they had they investigated a house around here that I had never heard of. So apparently there is at least
others.
Yeah,
it's a tiny, small old town. So
I mean, come on, the Civil War was fought around this area, so I mean, it's got spooks all over the place. Well, after the episode aired, someone posted on the town. Was it the town's Facebook page?
It was one of the town's Facebook pages. Let's you come visit my house.
Well, did he say he was living there now?
No,
or
he's
that
not
it was
living
a
there. He owns it.
House? Okay.
It was his house. He owns it still.
Okay, but he did say he grew up there.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so here we have one confirmed case of a person who's lived there that it did not go crazy. But he said they should have visited my house. I grew up in this house when I was a kid, and I still own it. Blah blah blah.
I sent Ghost Nations. I actually sent Taps them an email about it.
And all of us got goosebumps because it was the exact same house.
He had posted pictures, a few pictures.
And videos.
And a couple videos.
The video gave me...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like it scared the crap out of me. In the photo...
You can't duplicate this either. Yeah. Like, first in the photo, and I wasn't the first to notice this.
My sister actually noticed it.
Yes, and I looked
because my sister was talking to him in the comments on Facebook.
But you zoom in to get a clearer shot of the window. There's a face. There is a legit face. Nobody lives in that house anymore.
Well, it was a woman, wasn't it?
I think so, but nobody's in this house anymore.
Yeah, no one lives
going
in this house
to live in this house. And I don't even think they have it on the market anymore.
Yeah.
He just owns it.
Yeah, he owns it.
No one's going to
Nobody
live
lives
there.
in it.
But Then
So a lot of stuff's happened since the last time I saw it in high school. 'Cause when I was in high school, people were still living there.
yeah, it's
So,
and then he posted some videos.
and I'm telling you all, I've listened to a lot of because like I said, I love paranormal stuff. I've heard a lot of EVPs. I've heard some really spooky stuff. This video absolutely made the chills run down my spine. Like
It's
was
something you
terrifying.
can't duplicate with anything.
In the video, he's standing like at the foot of a staircase, and you can literally hear something growling that's not there.
And he showed, in light and the dark, but he showed there's nothing in the house.
No,
he was standing there by himself.
Like it literally sounds like
it's nothing of this world.
Yeah,
that's the only way you can describe that.
Like it was it just blew me away. Like that's one of the best bits of audio and video I've ever seen. And like I said, there's nothing.
And this was off a cell phone.
Off a cell phone, yes. And like I said, there is nothing that shows up in the video. You just hear it.
And you could hear him. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Like you can, it sounds like something growling and just evil.
It was terrifying.
Yes, like it just sounds like straight up evil. And I was like, I would love to set foot in this house, but then again, I don't want to. Because you never know what you might bring home.
See, for me, the last bit we'll wrap up here. I knew if we were to ever go in this area, I'd know which house it was before we even had it correct. Because I can go near somewhere or something and know to stay away from it. Like, I don't know how to explain that. But, one thing from back home to explain it, there was this church that an ex had dragged me to because there was some event going on. It's a church that I had gone to when I was younger, even. And, we pulled in the parking lot, and I said, I don't like this. I don't like this. And I still got dragged inside. Heart was pounding. Couldn't breathe. I don't like this. Now, this church, after the people had taken it over, they kind of turned it into a cult, and they hid it. Like, they covered it up, which is sad to say. Some churches do, but for the whole, the chapel part and everything went towards the doors, because everyone was allowed to walk freely. I wouldn't go near the doors. I said, no. He goes, well, why? No. I backed away and walked the other direction. I said, I can't be in here. I can't be in here anymore. It's I know when something's bad or something's not right. And I started feeling that once the electricity went off in that house we almost moved into. You just know, but...
Yeah.
So, yeah. I've not felt that anywhere else.
No.
And
me
my
neither.
my
that was the
feelings
first
are
time.
never usually wrong, either. I don't know why, but it's just... Mm-mm.
Yeah, and like I said, at the house we almost moved in, that's the first time I've legit felt terrified. Now, there's been some times where I've had to run out to the garage or something for something at night, and I've watched something spooky, and my mind is messing with me, and of course it freaks me out. But then again, like I said, there are nights where just walking to the fridge in the dark some nights just seems like not a good idea to do. It's just, but neither of us, I don't think, have ever been attacked or anything like that by something you can't see. We've both never experienced all these cases of ghosts actually physically harming anybody. I mean, I'm pretty sure you felt kind of threatened in that house, but I don't know. It's weird because besides the stuff I've seen here at my parents' house and in that house, I've not had that much experiences anywhere else, though. Because...
I mean, I have, but that's all in Ohio, and
yeah,
it really depends where. And the thing is a lot of stuff
Ohio's got a lot of haunted places.
It does. It really depends where you are, but if you're in the city, you don't really notice things. It doesn't get quiet like it does here, so...
Yeah. Yeah, I can't sleep when our power goes out. Because it's too quiet. It freaks me out a little bit. Well, I think that's pretty much it for the first episode. That was our personal experiences plus one local paranormal. How would you call it? One local haunting.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's like I'm sure there's a bunch around here, but like as far
if we
as
learn more about them, we'll definitely include them.
Yeah,
we just have to research. I mean, it's
because like I said, like the only reason why I knew about the house is because my mom actually had
new people.
Yeah, new people was actually involved a little bit in it. But I mean, never been inside the house myself. And like we were talking about that house, it used to be a Civil War hospital and the place in town that used to be a funeral parlor. Never been inside of them, but just local stories, that because like we said, it's a small town. Stories get told around here. But yeah, that's pretty much that's the only personal experiences I've had. I guess you've had too. But yes, that was the first episode of Mysterious Darkness. Little something different we're trying out. If you guys did enjoy, please hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Let us know if you liked what you heard or saw, depending on how you decide to listen to this. If you've got your own paranormal stories, whether it be ghosts, whether it be scary, like a scary experience with an actual living person, or like any kind of spooky story that you'd like us to tell, let us know. Our Twitters are in the description. You can send us that way. You can send it through our email. You can let us know in the comments to get a hold of you. Because I really want to do this because I find it fun. I don't know if you find it fun.
Well, this stuff doesn't bother me. It's just the horror stuff that bothers me.
But so yes, just if you got any stories, fiction, non-fiction, let us know and we'll tell the story. Of course, we'll credit you in the description down below. Next week, it's going to be a different. Like I want to do. Next week is going to be a true crime story that I want to do. It includes several cases that may have been linked to one serial killer, and the cases have been put into a book called "The Man from the Train," and it includes It includes one very famous case, that being the Villisca axe murders, and it may include a German crime, that being Hinterkaifeck, but that one is up for debate. And also, some believe this may have been the same guy who was the Axeman of New Orleans. So that's going to be next week's episode. It's going to be a pretty lengthy one because there's a lot of ground to cover. Late 1800s to about 1922. So I'll be researching that very soon. What we're going to do is we're going to, one week do a haunting, another week do a true crime, next week do, some disappearances, some, anything that falls into the paranormal realm or the true crime realm, we're going to cover in this little series. So, once again, if you enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. If you want to support us on Patreon, you can do that as well. All those links are down in the description. And we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.